everybody, I'm Jessica Henry Gray and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am at beautiful Huntington Beach Park in just a little bit west of Cleveland, Ohio. The weather's gorgeous and I've got this beautiful sort of beach scene right out here with the trees and everything's just lovely. So I'm going to demonstrate this in an oil painting and I will do a voiceover later because there's just lots of noise. All right, you guys, if you're new to my channel, check out some of the links below. I have all kinds of videos on all sorts of different plein air painting, still life portraits, whatever. They're usually all in oils, but I do have some watercolors in there as well. Also, stay tuned to the end of this video. I have an announcement, a very new workshop I'm doing next summer, 2025 in England, the Cotswolds in England. So check out that video. I know you're gonna like it. It's already almost full. We've got like 5 spaces left. All right, so I will see you on the other side of this intro. Hey everyone, Jessica Henry Gray here, and thanks for watching one of my videos. On my channel, I concentrate on the joy of outdoor plein air painting. I talk about color, composition, efficiency, and so much more. I bring you 30 years of painting and teaching experience. So I hope you enjoy these videos, and let's go paint something beautiful. All right, so here we are all set up and ready to go. I am using, just so you know, a white umbrella above my setup. I like to have a white umbrella, especially when I'm in the direct sun, because the shadow is a lot lighter and softer than it is under a dark, like a black umbrella. So that is just one thing I want to point out. All right, so I like to begin with a thumbnail sketch, and I pretty much was certain that I wanted to go horizontal with this view. So I make a little square, about 2 inches, inch and a half, whatever, just a small little rectangle. And I start blocking in how I want to see my canvas divided. And I'm thinking about the big, large masses on my canvas. And most of the time I start with sort of a dark. I want to establish my extremes. So I'll get that anchor in place of the darks in my composition. And then after I've divided the canvas into usually some sort of thirds or whatever, and I start to determine where I want it composed as far as, the beach, where it comes down, being careful to avoid bringing lines right down into the corners. So then I do another trial, and this time I'm doing the sketch without the border first, because I think on the small one, I just felt like I ran out of space in my little design. I didn't have very much of the water, and I just felt cramped. So in this example, I'm starting with sort of blocking in where I want some trees to go. I know I wanted some of those little rock things that jut out into the water. I don't know what they're called. But anyway, so I wanted some of that, and I wanted some of the shadows that are stretching across the sand, and I want some of the water from the beach. I want to kind of focus on that, since essentially that's what I came to the beach to paint, is that beautiful shoreline color in the water. But the shadows were also a beautiful purple that just sort of pointed down to the water. So that was something I wanted to incorporate as well. I knew that it wasn't going to be particularly about the sky in this painting, especially since the sky was just sort of a generic blue. So I'm mapping in my dark areas first. After this, I will figure out where my medium values are, keeping in mind that how I like to arrange a painting is usually like a 10% one value extreme, then like a 30% another value, and a 60% another value. I don't care how they're arranged, but they have to be 10, 30, and 60. It just aesthetically, if you think about the values as having weight on my canvas, they'll balance. And so when people say it's balanced or not balanced, that's generally what we're feeling, even if it's just sort of cerebral. We sort of understand that there's something not balanced if there's 2 equal 50-50 of the values. So in this case, I knew that most of my canvas is going to be middle tone, so that would be my 60%. My 30% would be the dark mass of trees, and then my 10% is going to be just the lighter highlights. So using my sketch, it's off to the side, you don't see it. I'm just mapping in pretty much exactly what I had on my little sketch, because that was where I did all my thinking. And I think I don't even know if I mentioned that once I finished that little thumbnail sketch, then I established my boundaries where I want the edges of that canvas to sit in reference to the sketch. And you'll notice too, I didn't get very detailed with my sketch. Oftentimes I see people starting in on their sketch thinking of it as a drawing, when in reality, if you can get it in your head that you're not technically doing a drawing, you are mapping out the masses of values for your scene. And you're consciously thinking of all of those logistics that need to work together to form a cohesive painting. So you're very left brain analytical when you're doing your sketch. Don't think about it as a drawing. You're thinking about it as more like sculpture, dark, medium, and light. And where are they going to be sitting on your canvas to create an attractive painting? So what I'm using here to block this in is, it is my new favorite go-to color mixture. This is phthalo green and transparent red oxide, and it makes the most gorgeous green. I just definitely want to recommend getting those two colors and just playing with adding a little bit more, a little bit less of the transparent red oxide. If you don't have those colors in your area, I know some people overseas don't have access to phthalo green. Viridian green is very close. It's more opaque, but it is really close. So I've thinned it down just barely with a teeny bit of Gamsol. You don't want to go too heavy on the Gamsol because it can, the ingredient in any odorless mineral spirits or turpentine or anything like that is, it breaks down the binding agent in the paint. So if you use that as a painting medium, it's going to basically deteriorate the binding agent in the paint on your canvas. And over time, it can delaminate. So you don't want to get in the habit of using any sort of mineral spirits or anything like that, a solvent like that for your painting medium. I have it only because I clean my brush out every now and then in it. And sometimes I do use a little bit to tone the canvas, but if you've been watching my videos, you know that I always wipe off my canvas. I don't leave it glistening wet with the mineral spirits because then for sure, first of all, you're going to be fighting with the paint to try to get to stick to the canvas because the canvas is now so slick from the mineral spirits. And then, so by wiping it off, you're just staining the canvas basically with pigment. So there's practically no mineral spirits left on the surface. Okay, so done with that. Moving on. If you do need a medium, the experts recommend linseed oil. Occasionally, I use Galkid gel if I'm traveling because it helps speed up drying time. Liquin is also a good one for that. But in the studio, I generally try not to use those because they are loaded with chemicals and so forth. All right, so I'm taking now this purple and I'm sort of mapping out where I want those shadows to stretch across the beach. Even though I had them in my thumbnail sketch was just to help me figure out placement and size and value. Now I'm going through and after I've used that sketch, I'm blocking in where those are going to be. You know, at this point now, you can sort of determine more of the technical drawing aspects of your painting. So I'm okay with the dark and the light of the sand on the beach. So now I'm going to start blocking in from the background to the foreground. And unfortunately, this whole video I had to lighten because while I'm standing under the umbrella, for me, the values look fine, but filming, it darkened everything. And so that was one of the challenges I had with editing this video, is it was very dark. But in the process of editing, I lightened everything in this video, and that made the whole background there look bleached. And so I do apologize that coloring back there doesn't match what I'm painting. But every now and then here, I try to insert a better little view that I had. All right, so the sky, that's ultramarine blue and white. As I move down toward the horizon, I add more white and a tiny dot of phthalo green. That little bit of yellow that is in the green that they use to make the phthalo green is just enough to warm the sky without turning the sky green, if that makes sense. Because if you were just to take yellow and mix it with that blue to get it down to the horizon to warm it up, it would turn green. But by adding green, it doesn't. I don't know. It sounds crazy to say it, but it works. So a tiny bit of that, and you're all set. So I've taken some yellow ochre, a little ultramarine blue in there, and a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Yellow ochre and ultramarine blue make more of an opaque pine type, like a pine green. But by adding a little bit of the cadmium yellow, that's cad yellow medium, it sort of makes it a bit more transparent, a little more green. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to come up with a color that I see in the distant water. Now, the reason that I titled this video about mixing these blues for the color of water, I swear I spent a half hour trying to get these colors right. So here we are. But this is what I do. I ask myself, what if, all the time, what if this is the right color? What if I add a little more yellow? So you can see here, I wasn't getting it light enough. I kept getting it too dark. So I had to get aggressive and add a lot more white. And sometimes, just like in life, you don't know how far you need to go until you go too far, then you can back it up. Okay, so I added more white than I needed, but that's okay because I could dip into some of the darker blue that I already had. So again, that's ultramarine blue and a little bit of yellow ochre and a bunch of white. But if you notice, when I take paint, I put it in little tiny piles on my palette, and I don't mix it all up into one gigantic pool of color. I have varying shades on my palette box of the different shades of blue or the different shades of green or so forth. So I can always tap into what else I was working on. That's one way to be efficient and economical with your paint and your time. So don't just muddle everything up on your palette. Make sure that you still kind of have things segmented. I don't really have a logical explanation for what is going on my palette, but I think somehow when I'm painting, I kind of know, okay, lights are over here, warms are over here, cools are here, and I just sort of keep it that way when I'm working. You can see that's a cooler blue. As the sky comes down and hits towards the shore, it sort of turns into a grayer, cooler gray, and that's what I'm working on there. Further out, it just gets warmer. I'm seeing a little bit more of a warmer blue back there. And that's another thing you don't see very much on my videos is how often I'm wiping my brush off. People ask all the time, how do you keep your colors from getting muddy? Well, that's how. I'm constantly wiping my brush off, or I'm twirling my brush on the palette. You've probably seen me doing that a few times where I sort of twirl my brush. It gets built up. There's a lot of paint that sort of collects on your bristles. And so I just twirl it every now and then to get them off. I don't really want to lose the color that I have. All right, so as I'm getting closer, I'm adding a bit more warmth to the water. You can see I'm adding, well, that's a little bit more cooler purple, but there's some passages where I'm taking some phthalo green and just, I'm looking at the gradation, and you can't really see it in the little inset picture there, but in real life, there was this gorgeous gradation of color and value as it came at me. I saw more ochres and purples. You can see I've got a little bit more yellow ochre in there. But at least at this point, I'm satisfied with my background color of the water. Now this is a little burnt sienna, yellow ochre. And I'm using some of the color that I have already on my palette to help with getting some of the color that I see in the sand. I tried to show you in this little inset video. It's not perfect. This dog came and went to the bathroom on my backpack. That never happened. I have never had that happen before, but bless his wee little heart, I just about died. Anyway, so little burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and some white sort of scumbled on the sand there just to indicate some of the wetness of the sand. And so that's some more cad yellow into that watercolor, the color of the water, and some phthalo green to get some of these, the color of the wet, transparent water up in front. I guess all water is wet. But I love that illusion, how you can create that look of transparency. And again, like I said, that water back there looks bleached. All the background is bleached in color because I had to adjust the lighting in the video. But once you start enjoying painting the water and all the colors and the textures and all of these different passages in water, you find that this gets addicting. I love painting water, and I feel like I should apologize. Every video I put up now has something to do with water, and I will vary them here as we come into fall. And I'm looking at fall colors, and so we're going to start having more videos about that. But I'll tell you what, water is always my favorite thing to paint, and I hope that you enjoy it and that you're liking these videos. I hope you get out and try painting water and are getting good at it, because my goodness, it's so fun and relaxing. This day was kind of a stressful day. It was hot and very windy, and a dog peed on my backpack. I mean, it was like by the time I got out to the car, I felt frazzled, and at the same time, I felt really good. There's something about hearing that water just lapping up on the shore and people laughing and having a good time in the background. It feeds your soul, and this is one of the reasons why I love plein air painting. All those background noises. It's soothing. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking some of this grayer violet colors that I wanted to indicate some of the traction in the sand. And so I'm using those textures to help direct the eye compositionally, just back into the painting. Now, when I looked in the background there where the light was coming through the trees, right back there was beautiful, brilliant light on the sand. And so I'm hitting that with a brighter white and cadmium yellow, just to indicate sunlight. And I think that was sort of an effective means of creating sort of a focal area in the painting. And toward the end, I'll start adding people back there. And here, it's a darker passage where the water is deeper and it comes up down to the shore. It's also getting some of the reflection from the trees above it. And so I wanted that to have a nice indication of that dark from above. And so it's sort of trickling out the ripples into the water. And that's what I'm taking there. I put the darker right at the beach, and then I'm just using that color on my brush. I'm dabbing it out into the water. And this transparent red oxide with a little bit of yellow ochre right up close to the viewer. I wanted that to be a little bit more intense in color, and some of these purple, light sky purple colors where the light was hitting the top of the water surface. I wanted to indicate that feature of the sunlight hitting the water. And so it also gave me that spot of light as it leads the eye into the canvas, directing the viewer back to that focal area. Some of the waves back there. Now, given that this video, I was basically going to be focusing on the water, I did want to show you a little bit of painting the trees and some of the background. A lot of my videos focus on painting greens. We get a lot of foliage and trees, but so in this one I did want to just encapsulate the effort that I went through painting the blues of the water. But I will talk a bit about these trees. Now, I wanted to keep their values in the same family of sort of a dark to middle tone. Some of those highlights coming through, I wanted to accentuate with a brighter, vibrant, sunnier green without them pulling away from the focal area. So further in the distance, they're much cooler, bluer, lighter. I've added just some suggestion of housing, little white dots for that. It doesn't have to be any more than that. And then I do some of the rock outcroppings. And then as we come down the beach, I just did a few of those, and I simply do those by a dark little dash and then a highlighted passage on top. That's it. There's nothing more complicated to painting those rocks than that. And then I kind of paint the water around them. Some of the passages had some darker water than what I had on there in the first place. So I added a little bit more ultramarine blue to the color that I had on my palette of the water. So now I'm suggesting some trees, and the tree trunks in the shadows were very light gray. And if you look at tree trunks in the light, they're black. And the little bits of people in there help to give scale to the whole scene. And adding some final touches And there is the finished plein air study. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great week. Bye-bye.